Whether you're just starting to outfit your shop, have something on the better side of functional, or have a finely tuned workspace, there's always room to improve, play musical chairs, or implement some design ideas to make your shop time more enjoyable. This is my shop. Well, actually, this is my shop. Sufficient room for sure, but a lot of my setup ideas apply to much smaller spaces. I started this place in late 22, so in 18 months, I've created this from this. At 0, the first thing to consider is your rate limiting factors, those things that you can't or that aren't cost effective to change. This would be the position of your windows, which inhibit wall space, access around man doors and garage doors, structural poles and beams, ceiling height and how to utilize it, and power. But that has the most upgradability. When I first got here, there was a single 110 circuit for the entire garage. If you can, immediately upgrade to several circuits. Also, I guarantee that if you continue to build things, you're going to want 220 power at some point. For the hobbyist, 220 circuits is sufficient. One for the corner where you plan to put your future or present dust collection, and one somewhere else. This way, a big 220 joiner or table saw can run smoothly with a big 220 dust collector. You won't regret upgrading your lighting from the builder's special single incandescent that comes standard. LED tube lights are relatively inexpensive, easy to install, and make a world of difference. Give your walls and ceiling a fresh coat of white to bounce that light and seal your concrete floor early. It's okay if you've already moved in to paint the floor. I did just that in this video. The biggest limiting factor is your total footprint, and I feel that the size of your workshop should be correlated to the size of your workbench. I've never regretted insisting on a giant central workbench. That is, as long as you can reach past the middle from all sides. This one is 60 by 67. The size facilitates safe outfeed. Because of its 60-inch length, I can push a full sheet of plywood through, and the plywood's balance point at the 4-foot mark is supported by the table and it won't fall to the ground. That extra space also allows you to have tools out and available while giving you plenty of room to work, so build it as big as you can. I'm a believer in having as many work surfaces as possible all at the same height. But Adam Savage talks about horizontal surfaces inevitably becoming a harbor for clutter. But if you didn't have them, wouldn't the floor just end up filling that role? It's best then to give yourself horizontal surfaces that don't also facilitate a power tool like the Alfie table or the miter saw station, so you have a place for staging that doesn't interfere with work. That's precisely why I built this cabinet underneath the power tool station and this workbench on the other side of the shop. Now, all horizontal surfaces should consider their verticality. You won't find any in my shop that don't have a bank of drawers or cabinet doors, or cubbies, or platforms, or just being purpose-built for the storage of something underneath. This includes prefab surfaces like underneath the extension wing of your table saw, or possible spots under aftermarket metal bases. Now let's talk about the human interaction with all of your cool machines. The obvious stuff is in-feed and out-feed space, blah blah blah, you've heard that. There's some lesser known things to consider as well. You will one day want to build something bigger than you are, and even with a massive bench, it makes more sense to have open floor assembly area. You're already allotting space for table saw in-feed, so double up on it and make sure it's big enough for large furniture assembly. You need to have access to at least 2, but preferably 3 sides of your main workbench, so you don't have to wrestle with and slide your project around to accomplish operations. If you go with a tool wall over cabinets and drawers, you can push the walkway on its side effectively all the way up against the wall. I've had both tool walls and many banks of drawers and cabinets, and I've landed on tool wall as my preferred method. I find it easier, and if you haven't been able to tell from my other videos, I enjoy visual cacophony. The counter argument I continually hear is that things will get dusty with a tool wall. This doesn't chap my ass like it seems to for others because done. My advice would be to use magnets wherever possible, as it's the lowest barrier to entry, and even if magnets don't cut it, making specific tool holders is a really fun engineering exercise. Jam everything in as close as you can, future growth is inevitable, and keep it flat. If there's something that's better suited to sticking out, like my hammer till, put it on an end where it won't get in the way. You can't build anything without materials, and I'll admit it's best to outsource them to distant parts of your shop. You see, you grab materials in the beginning of a project, maybe set them on your dedicated horizontal staging area, and don't have to go back to it very often. That's why I've never understood rolling lumber racks. Lest you need to move it out of the way to get to something else, couldn't you just grab the pieces you need and be done with it? Why cart around a trolley of lumber through your shop? I guess the proponents will let me know in the comments. I've got a good amount of space in my shop, so I don't have a problem keeping some lumber nearby. But I still have a couple of shed areas with larger pieces, so I don't have sheet goods leaning up against the wall and blocking my access to tools. However you decide to store it, I do recommend sorting it. Your ability to find whatever you need will drastically increase if you sort by slabs, large sheet goods, dimensional offcuts, plywood strips, larger hardwood pieces, smaller scraps, medium-sized plywood scraps, over 4 foot longer than they are wide material, and under 4 foot longer than they are wide material. Although I put a lot of thought into my method of hardware storage, including analyzing decision trees, I don't have such strong adverse opinions towards other methods. Just do what works for you. The thing that's most important is length.
That's what she said.
I feel like you can sift through head type, coarse and fine, indoor and outdoor without much issue, but trying to pick the right size from an indiscriminate pile would be insane. So ditch Grandpa's one giant coffee can approach. Along with having hardware close to your assembly area, glue and tape should be easily at the ready, as well as clamps. 95% of my glue ups require that I run to the clamp rack and grab just one more to feel like I fully got her buttoned down. One big trash can near your main assembly area or multiple spread around the shop make for tidier horizontal surfaces. Work at lowering the barrier to entry at 2 woodworking facets: dust collection and sanding. Where do you do 99% of your sanding? Right here at the workbench, right? Then have your random orbital sander plugged in, hooked up to dust collection, with whatever sandpaper grit you need, easily accessible so you can just go. The motto should be anything to make sanding easier. Sort your discs so they're easily to identify and grab, and if you could spring for one, Festool extractors come with an auto start feature if you plug it in directly into the machine. So one less step to take. For dust collection, I'm not gonna say that you have to have a hard pipe system.
That's what she said.
Unit guys and the shop vac guys have in common is floor dust. I sweep every now and again into piles, but I don't always immediately vacuum it up. That's because I need to roll out the shop vac, uncoil, plug it in, vacuum, unplug, recoil, and roll it away. A high barrier to vacuuming entry. But look for a video on solving for this soon. Just because you have it doesn't mean it needs to be out and efficient. There are some items that serve no purpose in your working area than just taking up space. Imagine where you would draw this line in your shop. On one side is the blow and go, the stuff that's ready to rock at the flick of a switch, used all the time, is undeniably a necessity. For me, that's the ability to rip, chop, and quickly manipulate. The other side is the take or slow, tools that require you to first check up the correct bit, like the drill press or the router table, and milling tools, like the jointer or planer, which require thought and setup before use. I don't mind having these things further away, as I never need to do an emergency routing before glue dries. For that same reason, stuff like wrenches and sockets, yard equipment, as I mentioned before, material storage, finish and finished supplies, batteries and track saw tracks, and even the broom can be sent to distant zip codes. The more stuff you have on the take or slow side of the line, the more efficient your blow and go side. If we flip the line to account for vertical space, anything up here is clearly take or slow. I like this space for those plastic tool briefcases that you can't throw away, and boxes for odd job equipment like grout work and drywall. We also need to add another line here. You will eventually get frustrated if you put blow and go things in low cabinets. It's okay for infrequents, like replacement paper towels, spare equipment, and vacuum pumps, but not ideal for your wood glue and clamps. Last recommendation before I let you go, shuffle your shop around, is to have things there just to make you happy. If you think an antique broken drill press looks cool, then by all means put it right in the middle of your shop. Your shop is the one place where you alone get to make all the decorating decisions, so go crazy, because this place is not just meant to be an ultra-productive, sterile factory. It's a place where you get to freely express your creativity and make what was once only an idea into something you can hold. So go ahead and hang up that Lamborghini poster from college or your obnoxious dodgeball trophy. Whatever pushes your button, go for it. I hope that you found at least one segment of that useful, and feel free to let me know about any of my ideas that are clearly wrong. Thanks for watching.